Y'all tune back into Box Vision TV, man. Make sure y'all hit that subscribe button, man. Subscribe. You hear me? Let's go.
And the music was, it set a certain tone and precedence, particularly in Detroit, because that's where a lot of your good music was coming from, and it was a time where people were more unified in the 80s than they are today, and I mentioned the music thing a lot, driving that narrative, because today we see that the music is really driving a bad narrative with our children today, as I perform house calls all over the country. And music is a very powerful force. And back then in the 80s, when I was, a youngster, the music back then had a little more substance and inspiration and hope, and it kind of drove the narrative of a lot of our actions. You know what I mean? And today it's just not like that. So that's one of the reasons why I'm so hard on a lot of the rap music. Not all is bad. Not all the rap music is bad, but too much of it is just not good. And our children are being badly influenced because of this rap culture and the Dirty Red or Sexy Red or whatever her name is. The horrible artist, horrible lyric she puts out. And right now we need to find a way to get away from that kind of content.
I truly agree with you. Now, recently in the news, King Harris got into an altercation with his father, T.I. Tip Harris King, believing he lived a life that he has not. Tell us about being drawn to the streets, running with some guys, pretending to be someone you were not. And what were some of the things that you were doing?
Yeah, I mean, being influenced, you can't escape that. All kids are influenced by something or someone, particularly at a young age where you're trying to find identity, you're trying to find out who you are and what you like and what you don't like. So sometimes it's very easy to be influenced by other people, particularly when you don't have a father in the home, as I didn't. My dad was there when he could be, so he wasn't like this father that didn't want to take the role necessarily to being there for us. It's just that his job, his lifestyle and music, his importance and things like that, it kind of, I think, took a front row seat, more so than maybe it shouldn't have. But my father was a great man. I love him dearly. But when you're in that age range and, your dad is not there, it's easier to become influenced, by other things, other gangs and, other people. So I was one who, at that time, I was very, influenced by things and people, feeling like I always had to prove myself to people, even for the girls, trying to impress girls. So I would do stupid things, like stealing bikes, the latest bike or Honda Elite scooters. Back then they had these things called Elites, scooters, and I'm always trying to impress the girls and, things like that. And, it cost me, but it was mostly from just being just horribly influenced by the streets, and not having my father around to kind of put that hammer down, and it cost me, but yeah.
So what would you say? What happened to get you put into prison? What happened?
Hanging out with some guys one day and committed armed robbery. Hanging out with some guys. It wasn't planned or anything, but we was hanging out, in Detroit on the east side and saw a car and my friends wanted to take it and I went along with it. I could have said no. I didn't have to do what I did, but I was with the guys and wound up still in the car. And one of the worst mistakes of my life. But interesting enough, it in a way it turned out to be a blessing, because I wouldn't be the person I am today had it not been for me going to prison. I'm just so thankful that I didn't never hurt nobody. I've never, assaulted anybody physically or, anything like that. You know what I mean? Other than kids when I was, in the streets or whatever, little young guys, we fight and stuff like that. But as far as, on any armed robbery I did still in a car or anything, I never hurt anybody physically. I may have hurt them emotionally and mentally and scared the crap out of them. I'm sure I did. But I never hurt anybody. But I wouldn't be the man I am today if it had not been for that tragedy. So in a way, it's a bittersweet thing, but I'm the prison doctor because of what happened in my past.
So then let me ask you, because when I read the book, it was a page turner, to tell you the truth. I really enjoyed it. And then you had said some things that made me think, and then maybe if you can share with us a little bit about what went through your mind and how you felt when you went into prison, then maybe other people could get some insights and make some connections of what not to do, or it may resonate within them. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. As I always tell a lot of the children that I mentor across the nation, is that prison is the worst place in the world. It is one of the worst places in the world. I have never in my life experienced so much loneliness, so much fear, not fear from the other inmates, just fear that, I wouldn't live, you know what I mean? Because of the food, the way they feed you in there is it's unbelievable. The people have no idea. They literally darn near starve you to death in prison. The unsanitary conditions in prison, a lot of the public don't know. These are things, this is real life stuff. I mean, you're living in a cell literally where you're watching roaches or rats or, whatever kind of bugs, you'll see, crawling across your damn cell, in any given day in the night. You know what I mean? It's just very, very horrible, very depressing on the mind. The paint is very sullen, very dull. Nothing is fresh. You see no flowers, no grass. You see no life, and so it's really a very mentally draining place. And you really have to be strong in order to just survive prison. You know what I mean? For the length of time that I was in prison, for 20 years, people ask me all the time, they don't know how I came out of prison for 20 years, pretty much unscathed, pretty much not harmed or mentally, messed up or whatever, and I give that all to God, because it was meant to some degree for me to have to go through what I went through in order for me to be the man that I am today, to help all the children that I'm helping across the nation right now. But prison is a very horrible place, and I wouldn't wish that on no child, which is why I fight so hard, and I do not bend for power, for money, for likes on Instagram or TikTok, or for a contract with a major TV deal. None of that stuff impresses me when it comes to saving our children, because that's what our children need. They need more heroes. They're not seeing enough of them today.
I agree with you. So to sum it up, what would you say is one of the most important things that you have learned from this experience? You mentioned quite a few. So would you say that it taught you resilience, and it helped with your transformation, and if let's say maybe even one or two words, what's the biggest lesson that you learned from that experience of being in prison?
Yeah. Patience. That is the one, if I had to use one word to sum it up, my prison tenure for 20 years, being in there is patience. I went in as a young man, 19 years old, not having many relationships with, girls or things like that. Patience. I grew up very, very undisciplined to a degree. So going to prison and having those restrictions and boundaries set in place where, everything is regulated. You go to chow when they tell you to go to chow. You go to sleep when they tell you to go to sleep. You wake up when they tell you to wake up. You understand? So going through that kind of situation for 20 years, if I've learned nothing else, I've learned patience.
I can imagine that. So I would like for you to tell us now, so after you come out of prison, or when you were about to come out of prison, how did the prison doctor come to be? How was he born? How was that born?
That is a great question. That is a very great question. Very much so. Good question. The prison doctor came about actually when I got out of prison. It was always in my heart to want to help people. Even when I went into prison as a young man, I've always had a heart to want to help people, because I was raised like that, to care about your neighbor, to care about people, women and children. As a man, I was raised that way. So when I came home from prison, it was just so strong, because I saw how backwards our communities were, how horrible the young children were behaving, and the men were so lacking. I was witnessing, kids wearing their pants halfway off their behind. I was watching kids smoking weed or some kind of substance at 10 and 11 and 12 years old, and this became normal in our communities. I was seeing the women, how they were degrading themselves and identifying themselves as B's and H's, and that's what they were referring to themselves as. I came home to a society where men were calling women that, and it was okay. Men didn't have that. I didn't see the community in our men. You know what I mean? I didn't see citizenship where people cared about their neighbors, or about a senior citizen that maybe needed her driveway shoveled out so she can park her car, or someone open a door or hold a door for a young lady going to the mall. I did. It was absent. And I come from a time where I was used to that. I was told, you always hold a door open for a lady. I don't care how old she is. You hold that door. It was disrespectful for a man to have a lady behind him and he walks in first and she got to hold the door. Just little things like that. I didn't see it anymore. It was very depressing and shocking to me. And, so I wanted to do something about it. I wanted to find a way to be useful to the community, and to give back to our citizens and the elderly and women, and ultimately help these young children, understand what is the responsibilities of a man, and what is a man? What does that look like? Because a lot of our young children have no concept of what a man is or what it looks like. They don't even know what they're growing into as an adult, you know what I mean, from a child. And unfortunately, there were not many men in the community that I heard of or seen who were actually teaching our children how to be respectful young men, or just how to be, righteous young men. I came home to a world in Detroit. When I got out, it was horrible. And it is today horrible.
Yeah, it is rough out there. So I would like to ask you, so let's go into like the present and your experiences with when you go to visit homes. So which of the encounters with the families that you've come in contact with stands out the most to you?
Well, I can think of one situation about a little boy, but real briefly, I want to thank all the people on my Instagram. I'm looking at these people on my Instagram who's always staying loyal to me and following me and supporting me. And I just want to take this moment to thank you on Instagram for all you guys. I read your comments all the time. I know who you are. Believe me, I do. And I want to thank you because there's some things happening with my organization, and there's going to be a way I'm going to be able to personally thank all of you for your support. And I mean that. To answer your question, one of the calls that stands out the most to me was the young boy who threatened to blow his mother's brains off. This was a 13-year-old boy. It's on my Instagram. And the young boy literally told his mother that BITCH, I'll blow your brains out. That kind of a statement from a child, today, like, believe it or not, it's more common than not for that kind of stuff to be said. But back in my day, it's unimaginable for any kind of a 13-year-old or 14-year-old child to tell his mother and call her a BITCH and say, I will blow your brains out, is unimaginable to me. I deal with those things daily, though. So I have so many house calls that I can be on here with you and describe that horror, just horrific. I can tell you one about the little 9-year-old who pissed in the hand sanitizer in the bathroom, undid the top, and urinated in the hand sanitizer. So while company and his mother and his family going in there, pressing the hand sanitizer and washing their hands and even washing their face with it sometimes, according to what the mother was telling me, this little boy was doing that, and people are going washing their hands and they're literally washing the boy's urine on their hands. I can tell you about the 12-year-old who was choking his 78-year-old grandmother. A 12-year-old literally put his 78-year-old grandmother from the back in a chokehold and was threatening to choke her out if she didn't do what he said do. You know, I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. Children who are spitting in their mother's face at 12 years old, 13 and 14 years old, where no dad is home, where these children are literally hacking, you know, and spitting in their mother's faces, and just horror stories. And I'm not exaggerating by no means. And none of these things were like this in the 80s. None of this. And so I have to ask the question, what has changed so much from back then where that stuff was not happening? These children weren't doing that stuff, not as frequently as I'm in these house calls. It was not happening public. Now, you can take that or believe it or not, or want to say, well, yes, it was. No, it was not. I'm telling you what I know. Why is it happening every day? I deal with these house calls, and it's no exaggeration. I have proof. If anybody would like to see it or hear it, and when the time comes, I can show you case by case, overwhelmingly, these violent children who are out of control, worse than any time in history.
My gosh. So, a quick question. I have to ask this because, family, I want you all to know I happen to know Myron personally, and I have a personal relationship with Myron, and I had seen him come off of a intervention not too long ago, and the look on your face and the tiredness that was on your face and on your whole demeanor, your whole physicality, I would like to know, how do you deal with that? When you come off that, how do you throw that energy off or to decompress after something like that?
Right.
What do you do?
Well, you know, I've made it a habit not to talk about my personal life on social media because I have to protect those who I'm entrusted to protect. But there are certain people that I turn to for stress relief, to go hang out or, you know, to talk, to play games, you know. So I have a tight knit of people that love me and I love them, and they support me and they take care of me very well. Believe it or not, you see the prison doctor on these videos and, you know, yelling or, you know, getting at a child. You would think that, you know, how does he do this every day? Well, the reality is I have to get recharged, and God has provided me with a net, a good strong force of people who love me and really have my back. They speak life into me and they lift me when I'm down. And so that's how I do it. You know, I pray a lot, and also in knowing my calling. I don't look at this as a job. I look at this as a calling. So when you look at it and you know that this is something that God has placed you in a position to do, then it becomes a little more easier to do. You know what I mean? Because you understand that you're living in a purpose, you know, to achieve a certain goal, you know, that was set out by God. And that is what I know. And so that is why I'm not, you know, you can't compromise the prison doctor. You can't throw money at me and buy me off or quiet me up or tell me don't talk about this or make me not speak on God. You're wasting your time. It's not going to happen. I'm not the one. Because I know that my orders come from God, and that is how I live it. And that is why I am so passionate about the work that I do. I don't play with it, and I don't prostitute it to nobody.
I hear you. And I want to make a comment on that I see that shows up in your comments, and then people have a lot to say that, oh man, all he does is he has no business yelling at the children and all he does. And people, if they would take the time and to really see the full clips and full videos of what it is that you do, it's not a question of you just running in and yelling at the kids or whatever. And I tell you, it's I want to liken that to when a person is hysterical. When a person is hysterical, they're carrying on whatever, they can hurt themselves and they can hurt you. And then sometimes you see it in the movies all the time. They give that quick slap in the face and it stops the momentum of that hysteria, and it brings the person to calm them down, you know. So I would say with you, from what I see, when you come in and then you have to come like that because the child is used to, because you would not have been called in the first place by the parents, because at some point the parents seem to have lost control of the child. So what they're telling them and talking to them, the threats or whatever, or talking too easy to these kids, that they don't, it does not faze them. So when you come in, I think that's a shock to catch the children's attention and make them focus on you, and whatever they thought they was going to get away with or what they normally do, that would stop that in its track. Do you believe that to some extent, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's part of it. Absolutely. That's a large part of it. Many people have asked me, what do I do, or how do I do the work that I do, and why am I so effective with transforming these children? Why am I so confident? Why is my organization, how do we have a 90% success rate on transforming some of the worst children that a lot of people have ever experienced? We are very good at what we do, and we have tactics, and we have a skill set, and that's why I know that God is real, because I actually do it effortlessly. And I don't mean to sound arrogant. That's not what I'm trying to. I'm just being honest. This is why I know it's my calling, because I don't run into people saying, well, do these kids ever buck up at you, or have these kids ever swung on you, or has anybody ever pulled a gun? I've not experienced that in 10 years, not one time. There's no child that can go on here and you'll never hear pop up, in the woodworks one day and say, I swung on the prison doctor. No, he ain't gonna tell that lie. Or that I bucked up. No, you didn't. You're a lie. That's never happened. But I take no credit for that. I give all honor to God, because I know God is protecting me from those things. But the way I interact with these children, they see me as credible. They see me as relatable. And they see me as honest. When I talk to these children, I don't go in there lying to these kids. I talk to them very straightforward, like a man should. That's our nature. You know what I mean? And that's why our children are so off rail today, is because they are not seeing real men. They're not seeing real men. I'm going to say that for a third time. Our children are not seeing real men. And that is a serious problem of what is going wrong, particularly with our young men, because they are not seeing real men. You have a child who is being raised by a mother, bless her heart, and you have a lot of wonderful mothers who are capable of raising families and young boys and girls on their own and have done wonderful. Okay? It can be done. But that is not a thing. You understand? That is a very rare thing. You understand? So children need, particularly boys, they need their fathers. Not just any fathers. Of course, they need the proper father, a good righteous father who's, leading in the right way and treating the mom with respect. He's handling his business. He's working. He's providing. He's spiritually leading and guiding his family. Of course, that's the kind of father I'm talking about. I'm not talking about any chump off the street just because he's a man. I'm not saying that. He could be worse in the way, actually. But what I'm saying is that children need proper fathers. And you can't eradicate that from their lives. So all this stuff about people saying, well, no, I don't need a man, and, we don't need a man to raise our family or our kid. Well, that's because you probably don't have a real man, or you don't know what a real man is. Because if you knew what a real man is and what that represents, you would want that. And you would even acknowledge the fact that he needs a real father in his life, a proper father. Because you would value having that in your life. Because you as a woman need a proper man. You need a proper husband. You need a proper husband or father for your child. You would need that, because that does something for you as a woman. You can never go as far as God would want you to go. Even, if you want to take God out the equation, you as a woman can never go as far as you could go in your fullest potential without having a man to help you get there. And vice versa. A man can never get to his fullest potential as a man unless he has a woman to help bring out of him what is lying dormant within himself. It can't be done. Now, they can argue me down if you want to and say, I don't need a man to bring out of me or nothing, whatever. You can, fine. You want to believe it? I really don't care. I'm just speaking to you from what I know, okay? You need a man, and a man needs a woman. And that's just bottom line.
Well, you know what, Myron? You done got ahead of me, and you done answered my next question. And I'm going to say it for the sake of saying the question, and if you want to, because what you just said, it needs to be said a second and a third time. My question was, in your opinion, what are some solutions to help with the healing and the rebuilding of our community? And what you just said, that was the answer to it, and I agree with you 100% with that.
Well, it goes even deeper. One of the key components that our community is lacking and our households are lacking, this is a tip for all those viewers I have a lot of viewers on Instagram right now who is tuning in. And let me tell you guys, one of the key components that you need in order to have a successful relationship with your children, your husband, your boyfriend, your whomever, is God. Say what you want, but you have to have some sense of a spiritual connection to something that is greater than yourself. Now, if you take that away and says, well, I don't believe in God, well, that's your choice. But I'm telling you that in order for you to have a successful relationship with anybody today, you have to understand you need to be accountable to something that is greater than yourself. Something that leads you, guides you, and directs you. You have to have that. If you don't, and you're just living by whichever way the wind blows, that's the way I go today. If you living like that, living a life like that, then, and you're free falling, you're never going to have the highest heights of life. You're never going to be completely happy as a woman, as a man, as a family unit with structure, unless you believe in something that is greater than yourself, that you're accountable to as a person. If you don't believe that and you think you're just here and then you're going to die, I'm just here today and it's, I'm just trying to enjoy life and party and pop bottles and shake my behind and, get high. If that's your thinking, then I can't change you, nor am I going to try to. Who I'm talking to is those who don't know and maybe a little confused on why their lives are in shambles and their families are broken and their relationships. They hop in 1 month with this guy or girl, 3 months later with another man or girl, and they just keep having these failed relationships. I'm asking you to consider that maybe you need to connect yourself to a higher power, something that can give you a little more fulfillment within yourself first, so that you can be more fulfilling to someone else.
Amen. Okay, I'm going to sneak this question in here for a minute, and then we'll go back to our regular programming. But I'm hearing in the wind that there's a possibility of the prison doctor becoming a TV personality in the future. Is there any truth to this? I'm looking at that smile. What do you got to say about this? What are you keeping from us?
I have a lawyer. Let me just say this. I have an entertainment lawyer, and he has instructed me to not speak on it. But I can say this. I can say this for all my fans, all my viewers, and my well-wishers and supporters, that you won't be let down. I'll go as far to say that. For all you people who have been pushing for a television show and have been saying this needs to be something on prime time or this needs to be something, to all you who have believed in me, all of you who have followed me, supported me, and been there for me when I was down and sent me a kind word on your DM, you won't be let down. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. Now, Myron, do you have any closing thoughts or a call to action for our audience?
Yeah, I sure do.
Please share with us. Please share.
Get to work. Get to work. Stop talking about it and be about it. Stop being cowards. A lot of our men are literally just being very cowardly, unmanly, and not doing what they know they should be doing. For fear of being sanctioned, for fear of being outcast, for fear of not being with the norm of society, that a lot of our men have become cowards. They don't have that, die for a cause mentality. And that's the kind of men that are missing today. Men who are willing to give their lives for women and children and not allow other people to prostitute women and children. That is a big problem we're having with our men. Our women are only behaving badly because men are pacifying them. So when you see our women who are the first teachers of our children behaving badly, it's because there's some no good man that made her that way. And that's why our women are behaving badly all over social media, showing their behinds and acting like dogs, and everything is a butt shot or a face shot. I can't even go on Instagram or look on TikTok without falling into somebody with a picture of just how they look, as if that is a, something to that people care about. I'm not being mean, very beautiful women out here, no problem. But anytime a person thinks that is the leading narrative on their page is how you look, you know what I mean? Everything is about how you look. We've become so vain. I've never in my life seen this crap in my life that I've never seen so many vain women who just would post pictures of just their face, just with makeup and made up and their eyelashes, and just post it, and then a butt shot. It's like no content, no creative thought to their postings, no originality. There's no originality on social media today. None. Go on social media, I guarantee you're gonna you may see 5 or 10 creative posts from somebody. The majority of posts on social media have no creative content. It's either gonna be of some female with how she looks. She's pretty today. Her birthday is today, so she got her hair laid, and she wants the world to see that she was pretty today. And she wants to shake her ass or get drunk. So that's the world we live in today. It's sad. Our little girls and children are suffering behind it, but unfortunately, not enough people care about that stuff. So.
Wow, you said a mouthful right there. You said a mouthful. So I'd like to ask you, how can we contact you and your organization?
Sure. So you can go to my website, which is www.theprison.dr.org, or you can contact me by email, which is theprison.doctor, theprison.doctor, at gmail.com, or you can call me at 31, that's my personal number. I can't give that out to
Don't do that.
Right. You can call me at 1-800-369-8932. Those are ways you can contact me. But know that I love people, and I love all of you, even in your madness. Whether you're gay, straight, bisexual, whether you're a robber, a drug user, a alcoholic, a street girl, whatever you are, I truly am not judging you. I don't hate you. I love you. I just want you to do better. I want us to do better as a people so that our children can act better and behave better. But if the adults don't care about life and about getting things right within themselves, you are a reflection to your child of what life is. So when you see the prison doctor make these kind of statements, and I'm saying things about women and behaving badly and men behaving badly, it's not because I hate you and I'm trying to get likes on Instagram or do that. That's not me, man. That's not who I am as a person. I'm not, don't get me confused with those other people on Instagram and TikTok that's on there for that reason. That's not my character. If you know me, all my friends, that is not who I am. I don't care about none of that crap. You can unfollow me. I don't care about that stuff. I don't post like that. You can look at my stuff. I can get 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 20,000 likes over. That's easy to do. That's not my interest. You understand? Because I'm out here doing the work. So don't think that I hate you. I love you. I just want us to do better because our children are watching us. And in order for them to have a successful future, we as adults got to get it right. And right now, we're getting it wrong.
For real. Myron, I want to thank you for joining me and sharing with me and our audience insightful, personal, and enlightening aspects of your life. We look forward to many more conversations with you in the near future. So I want to say good day to you and God bless. And family, tonight show was one-on-one conversation with Myron Fontaine, aka the Prison Doctor. Hopefully you enjoy the show, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
You did a great job. Great job. Great interview. I'm very proud of you. You are very good at what you do. One of the best interviews I've had. Very calm, well thought out questions. You did a great job. I hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much. You have a great one.